So good day, everyone. I am Rose Anne Marie PALAC together with Miss MESA and Miss Enclonar. We are going to tackle about the self and the Filipino society. So the roots of the Filipino character. Weakness of Filipino character have their roots in many factors. First, the family and the home environment. So there are many components of the home environment. First is child rearing, can be both difficult and rewarding at the same time. And it is the goal of every parent to have your child grow up to be respectable and resourceful adult in society. Which is, ang meaning sa child rearing is kanang giunsa pagpadako sa parents ng ilang mga children. And there are two characterization in child rearing, which is first is high nurturance, which means attention and care, which leads to their children being isolated or walang kamuwang-muwang sa outside world. Second is low independence training, means kanang gasalig pa ilang mga children sa parents. For example, bisag kanang minyo na napayapon sila sa balay sa ilang parents, which is, di ba, is ang usa sa Filipino character is kanang close family ties kaayo, pero aside kaayo ang nga trait sa usa ka family. And then the second component is low discipline, which attempts to maintain discipline that come in the form of many no's and don'ts and a system of criticism to keep their children in line. And subtle comparisons among siblings also are used by mothers to control their children. So it means like kanang ilabitang ang ilabitang mga children kay matend to maligaw sa landas kay like gina-compare sa uban tas ma-low bitaw ilang self-esteem and self-confidence. And then the third one is about family relations, which ang family relations kay maapektuhan or ma-influence ang character sa usa ka children tungod based sa relationships ng families. For example, broken family. So ang uban kay kanang magbarkadahay, ang uban gagamit na og drugs, inana. Then the fourth one is family attitudes and orientation. Like, ang ma-adapt sa children kung unsay batasan nga ginapakita sa ginikanan bitaw, nana siya. For the second roots of the weakness of Filipino character is the social environment, which means the social environment of the Filipino is characterized by a feudal structure with great gaps between the rich minority and the poor majority. So there are two main components. First is social structures, which is kanang nag-base sa kanang like sa Philippines na ay high class, middle class, and low class. So like ma-influence ito ilang character sa usa ka tawo based sa ilang social structure. Like ang uban kay ang bisa kanang dato kay kanang di na din mamansin ang arrogante na din kaayo ito inana siya. And then the second one is the social stems such as interpersonal religions and community interaction. Like bisag sa ano bitaw, bisag religious kay nga people, igo pagsulod bit ako mabantayan gud sa simbahan, like kanang igo pagsulod sa simbahan, tas ang mga tao wala, tas kung wala pa ang pare magchismis-chismis sila, which is kanang dili kay siya bitaw nga kanang model sa usa ka society if belong ka sa kana bitaw mga inana nga community. So the third factor is about culture and language. Language and culture cannot be separated. So in which language is vital to understanding of our unique cultural perspectives. Language is a tool that is used to explore and experience our cultures and the perspectives that are in our cultures. So like dani nga part is ang uban people kay ginatake advantage nila ang pagyo sa ilang language makabash sa ubang tao bitaw or makapanakit. Like for example naa sila kakan nga laing nasod tas gamitan nila og di ba ang ilang language dito kay English o ilang masabtan, and then yung sa kay pwede ta magbisaya magtagalog, So kung magsurya ta dana nga language which is ang katong tagalaing naso dili maka-understand sa tuwa with kato bitang ginatikan advantage nga di sila makasabot then at katawhan na bitaw is negative ka. And then the fourth one is about history. We are the product of our colonial history, which is regarded by many as the culprit behind our lack of nationalism and our colonial mentality. Colonialism developed a mindset in the Filipino which is encouraged us to think of the colonial power as superior and more powerful. So, ang tungod gyapon sa history is nagyapoy ng negative side sa mga Filipino character bitaw like kanang ginaabusaran bitaw ang example kanang mas knowledgeable sila dapat knowledgeable sila about sa history tas ila kanang gina-change na sila gina-change something bitaw like ilang gina change mindset sa ubang tao, which is wala pa nakabaluan nga history like uban karon ang mga recent nga out and the fifth one is about educational system. Aside from the problems inherent in the use of a foreign language in our educational system, the educational system leads to our problems for us people. O maglisod ta og talk fluent in Tagalog bitaw nana. The sixth one is about religion. So religion, the root of Filipino optimism and its capacity to accept life's hardships. However, religion also tells in the Filipino attitudes of resignation and preoccupation with the after. We become vulnerable also being victimized by opportunism, oppression, exploitation, and superstition. So that part like sa religion kay kanang na mo gawas nga negative nga to which is kanang kanang at nga bahala na si Lord nga statement. And then the second one is about the economic environment. Many Filipino traits are rooted in poverty and hard life. Our difficulties drive us to take risks, impel us to work very hard, and develop in us the ability to survive. So poverty, however, has also become an excuse for graft and corruption, particularly among the lower ranks of bureaucracy. So which means kaning sa environment na crimes nga kahitabo. So sa number 8 is about the political environment. The Philippine political environment is characterized by a centralization of power. Political power and authority is concentrated in the hands of the elite and the reputation of more Filipinos office limiting in elections. Like, ang political environment is kanang more sila kanang hawod bitaw din kay sila with kanang imbis sila dapat ang nasa ibabaw dapat ilang tang tarungon pagdalaang sa government. Number 9 is about mass media. Technology intends to reach a mass audience. The primary means of communication used to reach the vast majority of the general public. And the most common platforms for media are newspapers, magazine, radio, television, and the latest is the internet. Like, dani nga part is, ang negative nga character nga makunani is, ang mga Filipino tend to spread or make fake news bitaw. Like, ug ang weakness imbis, ang mass media, ato siyang gamiton sa maayong nga butang, ato siyang gigamit sa paghimo sa mga daotan. The last one is about leadership and role models. Filipinos look up to their leaders as role models. Political leaders are the main leaders. Thus, when they violate the law or show themselves to be self-serving and driven by personal interest, there is a negative impact on Filipino. Next slide, please. Further, many of our strengths as a people are also sources of our weakness. First is about family orientation or being family oriented, and becomes a group orientation that prevents us to from reaching out beyond the family or to the large community and our nation. Like, tag ka ng, kita hilig na kinig sa uban bitaw. Like, sa to ratang pamilya, gaano ka na, galisen kung unsa ilang kuan. Ngadto sa family oriented, dili na nato ka nang ginamangay tawo sa atong paligid. The second one is about personalism. We are warm and caring, but this leads to lack of care, concern. We know that. The third slide. So the third one is about flexibility. We we compromise the precision and discipline. And the fourth one is joyful of humor. The fifth one is faith in God. It is us, but this makes us outside us, which we do nothing that makes us submissive to God's will. For example, itong statement nga, bahala na si Lord, like, kung iuban nga kanang, kung grabe ka ilang faith sa God, kanang, tupad ilang mga dreams, yung ana, pero dapat magiging kinahanglan po siya action. The sixth one is about pakikipagkapwa-tao. We can easily empathize, but we can at the same time be envious of others. Like, anang masuya po ta sa uban, like, nang mo rin makahimo din talaga ng mga mali nga mga desisyon sa kinabuhi. The, the seventh one is about being hardworking. Yes, we can be lazy and passive work. Like, ang nanay strength din nato nga kanang Filipino characters being hardworking. So, nang kasagaran magid karon is makita na ginato nga dili tanan nga hardworking gid ang mga Filipino. Ang nagiuban nga kanang bayra kaayo, di nagyok dol. And then the second reporter is Miss Mesa. Miss Mesa.
So now, we will be discussing about nationalism and patriotism. This two program is very important in our country because it is a way to make a stronger nation in which people are helping each other. It is also very important for the protection of the country's culture and history heritage. It involves a sense of responsibility that comes towards our country as its citizens helps it to grow. So atong previous topic is we talk about the responsibility of a Filipino citizen, and one of it is we are responsible to help our country to grow. So nationalism comes from a Latin word meaning birth and tribe, and it is first recorded in early 18th, while patriotism comes from a Greek patriotis, fellow countryman or lineage member, and the root of this word in turns means fatherland, and it's first recorded in early 70s. So what does nationalism mean? Nationalism is a devotion of love to one's country. It means giving more importance to unity by the way of cultural background, including language and heritage. It implies to persons that his country is more higher or superior among other countries, and he will be defend it no matter or whatever happens. Now, what does patriotism mean? Patriotism is devotion to one's country for the reason that being a citizen of that country is the common virtue that pertains to the love for the nation with more emphasis on values and beliefs. He will never be selfish and ready to make any sacrifices for his country. There are many ways in expressing patriotism. One of it is respecting our Philippine flag and the value of the Filipino identity. So now let's talk about the difference between nationalism and patriotism. According to Asa, nationalism is identification with one's own nation and support for the interest even to the exclusions or detriment of the interest of other nations. While patriotism, it is the feelings of love, devotion, vigorous support, and a sense of attachment to one's country or homeland, as well as the unity with others who share the same sentiments. According to Hasa, nationalism is also based on the belief that one's nation is superior to others, is more aggressive in nature, and it gives importance to the heritage, culture, and language of the nation. While patriotism, it is based on one's love and devotions to country, it is more passive in nature, and it gives importance to the values and beliefs of the nation. In terms of unity, nationalism can unite people against common enemy, typical hostile foreign nation, while patriotism can unite people for the overall well-being and prosperity of the nation. Now let's welcome Kisseah and Enclonar.
Good everyone. Today I'll be discussing the good citizenship values, which are the makadiyos, makatao, makabayan, and makakalikasan. So let's define what good citizenship values is. The good citizenship engenders love of country, making the seemingly gargantuan task of building of nation easier. Through good citizenship, even the poor and the young and the old can contribute to the nation building. And the good citizenship likewise strengthens unity. And as Filipinos, we have our shared values which can be strong force to unite us as people despite our differences. And our nation is oftentimes in crisis. In all these times, people are suffering. By being good citizens, we will not be part of the problem. We will be part of the solution. The first here is the makadiyos. First in makadiyos is faith in the Almighty God, which means that a good Filipino obeys God and lives accordingly His teaching. So one of the identified strengths of the Filipino is their faith in God. In one way or another, Filipinos have a basic concept of supreme being who, to them, always gives a beacon of hope no matter how bleak the current situation may be. And this make them resilient, driven by the great hope stemming from their faith in someone whom they believe has the power to deliver them from even the most miserable situation. So it is also the trait that brings conviction to Filipino not to do anything bad, for the same supreme being who watches over them will be the same eyes who shall judge them they should engage in wrongdoings. Second, we have respect for life. A good Filipino recognizes the absolute value of human life and the human dignity of person, including himself. So being pro-life doesn't mean not engaging in abortion or being in favor of it. Being pro-life includes valuing other people, how they feel, what could harm their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So among the practices that show respect to others and their dignity as a person are not smoking in public, not throwing a litter which will cause accidents or put their health in peril, not saying words that hurt people and scar them for life. The third one, we have the order. A good Filipino values orderliness. Valuing order means respecting laws, procedures by following these sets of laws and or procedures in the home, school, and the community as well. As well as a whole, he or she respects the human rights of others and invites excellence in everything he or she does. So setting things in order could range from maintaining cleanliness in the home to coming school in time and to falling in line. And of course, to follow traffic rules and regulation are one of the example of the order. Fourth, we have the work. A good Filipino values diligence and excellence in everything he or she does. So he earns an honest living and does not engage in crime and corruption. He goes to school on time, does his homework, and participate in school activities. He does his best in everything and is not contented with mediocre. So this is to have more knowledgeable enough, no? So Filipinos don't mind taking on any kind of work and are great salesmen or negotiators. Not to be taken negatively, but the Filipinos could make great sales speeches, or he's good in selling ideas from the ordinary man or the street selling rags to the businessman in the Makati office, or one of the example of this work from Mahajos. Next is 5, the concern for the family and future generations, which means that a good Filipino looks after the welfare of his or her family and the future generation. So which means that he or she helps in household chores and has the loving relationship with the members of his or her family, is kind of considerate to them, and shows a good example to the younger members. We have the Makatao cluster. First, in Makatao cluster, we have the love. A good Filipino looks after the good and welfare of his or her fellow human beings. Love should always be the driving force when we want to achieve or to do something. This does not refer to the romantic love, but as a leader, family member, or a member of the society, we can exercise the value of love. Next is freedom. A good Filipino asserts his or her rights, especially if it means being able to do the right thing. He or she respects the freedom of others, doesn't impose his or her will on others, exercises his freedom responsibly to that he or she will do not harm to anyone, does not use coercion or intimidation to others, do what she wants, do he or she wants them to do, or what he or she wants them to be. And we have the peace. A Filipino lives and works in harmony with his or her fellow human beings. He avoids violence as a way of settling disputes and looks for ways to resolve conflict in a peaceful way. He or she maintains a harmonious relationship with others at work, at home, in the community, at school, and helps clear out misunderstanding among friends and family members. So this means among the good practices that a family could adopt is the open communication. A child raised a family which has maintained open communication is most unlikely to turn harmful influences for solutions and problems affirmations. Fourth, we have the truth. A good Filipino stands up for the truth and avoids interview and mudslinging. The values integrity in his or her life, family, work, and country. He or she observes proper pricing of goods and does not patronize, nor he or she cohort in fixing the bribing in business transaction. And he or she admits his or her mistakes and does something to correct his or her faults. And we have the fifth the justice. A good Filipino gives everyone their due, even if it is difficult. He does not oppress or take advantage of anyone. He is fair in all his or her dealings, especially with the poor and powerless, not getting more than what is rightful his or hers. And we have the third one, the Makabayan. The first in Makabayan, we have the unity. A good Filipino works with the cooperates of others, which means that unity doesn't mean a group of people should act the same, nor should they sport the same hairstyle and wear the same clothes. But just imagine how chaotic it would be if everyone and does the same thing. And we have the equality. A good Filipino treats others as brothers and sisters, being children of the God and one of the nations. He or she does not give preferential treatment to the rich and the powerful, treats everyone with respect regardless of status or position, and does not take advantage of anyone because they are poor, ignorant, or powerless. We have the respect for the laws and government. A good Filipino obeys the laws of the land and supports government programs. From simply to no vandalism, to following traffic rules, to report lawbreakers, to promoting stability of the nations, a good Filipino submits the law of his nation and will not engage in anything that will threaten his or her country. Next is patriotism, which Ms. MESA explained earlier, but we will be explain it further. So patriotism is a good Filipino who places high regard for his or her country. He considered what is good for the country in his or her words and actions. This includes patronage of native products and promotion of his or her country. Fifth, to have promotion of common good. A Filipino people puts the welfare of the greater number of people over his or her own. A good Filipino is not greedy and selfish. Instead, he or she considered the welfare of others in everything he or she does. Good examples of this are the businessmen who don't mind foregoing the potential of earning a sizable income from development plan if it means endangering nature and people's health. And of course, the last one, makakalikasan, or the concern for the environment. A good Filipino conserves natural resources such as water, land, and air. He or she gets involved in efforts contributory to the welfare of the environment, such as planting trees and implementing proper waste segregation. So it is very important to know the biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and recyclable waste segregation. And he or she keeps his or her surroundings clean and does not throw garbage in canals and waterways. So that's all for today, and thank you for listening.